All right, let's dive into something really cool. Today, we're going to be talking about how to architect a digital ghost. A phantom that lives right inside our computers, powering so much of our modern world, usually hiding in plain sight.
So let me just ask you this. Have you ever wished you could have a totally separate second computer, but without having to go out and buy any new hardware? A whole other machine you could use for experiments or for testing or maybe just to run a completely different operating system.
Well, imagine having exactly that. A secret, fully functional machine that has its own life, its own memory, its own hard drive. And the craziest part? The whole thing lives as a single file on your main computer. It's like a digital ghost you can summon and get rid of with just a click. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. So, what is this digital ghost, really? Let's pull back the curtain and give it its proper technical name: a virtual machine, or as pretty much everyone calls it, a VM.
At its core, the idea is actually way simpler than it sounds. A virtual machine isn't hardware you can touch. It's a really clever software program. What it does is it emulates, or, it pretends to be, a complete physical computer. And this trick allows it to run a whole operating system. Think Windows, Linux, whatever, and all its apps all wrapped up neatly inside one single file on your main computer, your host machine.
This little comparison really helps make it click. Your laptop? That's a physical machine. It's tangible hardware, right? You can touch it, and it runs one main OS. A VM, on the other hand, is just a software file. It's a digital abstraction, an idea of a computer. It's the ghost in the machine that can run any operating system you tell it to. It's kind of like the difference between a real car and an incredibly realistic driving simulator.
Okay, so it's a really cool concept for sure, but why do we actually need these things? Let's switch gears to the practical side of it and see how we actually put this ghost to work. And the reasons are incredibly powerful. I mean, you want to try out Linux, but you're on a Windows PC? Just spin up a VM. It's easy. Or what if you need to test some brand new, maybe even sketchy software? Do it in the safe, isolated sandbox of a VM. If it crashes or has a virus, who cares? It can't harm your main computer at all. And for businesses, this is huge. They can consolidate dozens of old servers onto one single piece of hardware, which saves a ton of energy and space. It's just an amazingly versatile tool.
This all starts to sound a little bit like magic, doesn't it? A computer inside a computer. So, how does it actually work? Well, every ghost needs a master, a kind of conductor for this whole digital orchestra. And that master is a special piece of software called the hypervisor. The hypervisor is the puppet master. It's the engine that creates, runs, and manages all of your virtual machines. It's the absolutely crucial link between your physical hardware and the virtual world that the VM lives in. So how does this puppet master actually do its job? Let's walk through it. First, the hypervisor gets installed. It can go right onto the bare metal hardware, or it can sit on top of an operating system you already have. Then, for step 2, it creates virtual hardware. It basically carves up your real processor and memory into little virtual pieces for each VM to use. For step 3, it acts like a traffic cop, making sure every VM gets the resources it needs to run smoothly. And finally, and this is maybe the most important part, it keeps each VM totally isolated, building a secure digital wall around them so they can't mess with each other or with your host computer. Now, you might be thinking this is all just for tech experts and big companies. But the truth is, these digital ghosts are absolutely everywhere. They are the invisible engine of pretty much our entire digital lives. And like any good ghost, they're designed to be invisible. They just operate in the background, completely hidden from view, doing all this heavy lifting without a trace. And yet, even though you can't see them, they are a fundamental part of your life. Seriously, make no mistake about it, you rely on them constantly, every single day. Just think about it for a second. What even is the cloud? Well, it's essentially a massive worldwide collection of virtual machines that companies like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft rent out. When you visit a website or stream a movie or use an online app, you are almost certainly communicating with a VM somewhere. Their secure, isolated nature makes them perfect for sensitive stuff like online banking. They really are the invisible backbone of the internet. Which really leaves us with a final thought. The virtual machine is a perfect example of a piece of technology that's become so successful that it's just invisible now. So the next time you browse the web or use an app, remember the ghost in the machine. And it makes you wonder, right? What other digital ghosts are hiding out there in plain sight, quietly powering our